touch one, then they touch all.
If you touch one, then you touch all.
So stand up.
I've been seeing videos going around the whole week, and I've tried to stay away from commenting because I just didn't want to get caught up in the narrative that everyone was pushing, because it was more fuel that race war than solution. So the video that I'm talking about is a young girl that is said to be leaving school, and then she's then attacked by another girl of similar age, two young girls, and an adult instructing the young girls to attack her. You might be wondering, why did it then become a race war video? Because the young girl that was being attacked was from the black community, and the family were from the travelling community. Within that video, I didn't hear any racial slurs being sent. It just seemed like a young girl fighting, and then a mum or parent or carer then forces two other young girls to get involved. Doing my job that I've done for nearly 20 years, looking after people on witness protection, dealing with murders, stabbings and other things, I always know that not everything presents the way it presents. There's always a backstory to everything. So I rather get the facts than try and jump to conclusion or try and work on half of the story. I like the full story, and then we then dissect it and take it from there. So I took a back seat and wait for everything to play out, because sometimes if you just wait, the truth would always come out. But what I did see there, which did concern me, was we had two young girls, no more than 10, being forced to attack another girl and pull her hair. Immediately, to me, you could see that the young girls were a bit reluctant to get involved, but the adult was screaming and shouting and forcing and directing them, as if it was a boxing match and your trainer's calling you from the corner, telling you what to do. And what jumped out at me immediately was the lifetime trauma that these young girls are going to face, because this video's gone viral. And worst case scenario, they could have kicked that girl in the head, given her a blood clot. The girl could have died. How do you as an adult or a parent explain to a 10-year-old that they've now killed someone, or permanently disabled someone, or traumatized someone? Those were my thoughts immediately. Once I heard that they were being arrested or the police were looking for them and knew their identity, I was like, you know what, sort this out before it blows out of proportion. Later that night, I then got a call from another organisation saying that they're going to write to the school. I then had links and videos and petitions being sent to me throughout the night. So people took this serious and wanted to take a stance. What then happened, a group then mobilised and then went down to the school to demand questions around safeguarding and bullying policy from the head teacher, and why the head teacher thought it was acceptable. Because once you watch the video, which we're going to show in a second, the head teacher did not show any sort of urgency to safeguard that young girl.
How are you going to support the children? How are you going to stop this? What you're putting in place to stop things from like this happening? We haven't been able to get through. Answer phone seems to be switched off. How can we communicate with you guys?
We are recording all of the messages and emails.
The mailbox is full. We can't get through.
We are responding to them. Unfortunately, we've got lots of phone messages that have come through, and we're systematically working through and responding to each person that's called or emailed. My colleague will be out in a minute, is individually working through and phoning and responding to those.
What's your colleague coming out to do?
My colleague is here as part of being here to respond to anyone that wants to talk, but she's currently making returning phone calls and responding.
Is she going to hide behind as an ongoing investigation and I can't comment, or is she actually going to give some answers?
No, we're not able to comment on anything.
So why is she coming out then?
He didn't show any sort of safeguarding. Once he got to the scene and the fight was broken up, it was like, okay, nothing to see here, go away. Which to me, as a parent, if one of my children came home and I then saw that video, I would want the teacher to explain his actions to me also. Because once young people leave their house in the morning, and by the time they come back home, they are in the care of the school. And this is why in a reverse way, if a young person commits a crime or incident whilst in school uniform, they could be excluded because they're representing that school from the minute they leave home to the minute they get back home. The same principles apply to the school within safeguarding the bullying policy. So the school clearly failed on that. So the group went outside the school and demanded questions from the head teacher. And the head teacher just said, look, there's an investigation going on. There's not much we could say. The group showed support and unity for that young girl. What came out of them gathering outside the school, there were other young people from different ethnic backgrounds that were also being bullied within the school and felt that the school was not safe and protecting them. We then saw the same group then go into the travelling community and then start causing trauma, alarm and stress to innocent people, which is something that I don't agree with. You've gone down to school to carry out a mission. The mission was completed successfully and everyone agreed to that. But the minute you then start targeting innocent people, it takes it somewhere else. It takes away from what you just contributed to, which was showing the young girl she's not alone, showing the school that this will not be tolerated. But you then started now traumatizing other people. So two wrongs don't make a right. Throughout that night, we then had phone calls going back and forth. There was people online sending threats to each other. And all I could see breaking out here was a race war. And not to the magnitude where it's going to be, oh, this race against that race, but just things where people could get hurt. And I made a few phone calls. I said, look, this needs to be sorted now because I don't want to see anyone get hurt further than what has already happened here. Whatever happened, there was an apology that was sent. The travelling community felt that the apology could have been better because there were some slurs still within the apology, but nevertheless, apology came over. I then saw on social media different people making videos and saying how they felt, how it affected them and everything else. Then I came across this young lady, Charlotte, that had made a video, and the video just touched me. Sometimes you watch some stuff and it just touched you, because all she was saying was, look, let's look at unity instead of division. Let's come together. As someone from the travelling community, I don't agree with any sort of violence, and especially not to a young person. And I thought, you know, I need to get in contact with her. Then other people started saying, Gwen, you need to get her on the show, trust me, because she gets it. There's no need for this. She's not standing with any sort of violence towards anyone. And I then traced her down, and then she agreed to come on the show.
This come up in my Q&A, and to be honest with you, I was shocked when I read it, because obviously it's a shocking statement what he's made, and a very, very wrong one, to be under the assumption that travellers dislike black people. I don't know where you got this line of thinking from, or how you can just paint every traveller as racist. I don't know, but in my personal opinion, I can't talk for every traveller, because obviously there are going to be racist travellers in the world, because it's an ethnic minority of millions of, not billions of people. But for myself only I can talk, and for people that I knows, that no, I have nothing against black people, or no one that I knows. If anything, me personally, and nearly every other traveller that I know personally, and Gypsy, I always related to black people more than white people. I know you say, well, you are white, so that's weird, but obviously I'm from an ethnic minority, so they don't see me as their fellow white comrade. They sees me obviously as what I am, a traveller, a gypsy. So I always could relate to black people more, because obviously they face so much racism, they face so much stigmata and hate and stereotypes and negative press in the media, and basically all so similar. Obviously it's not identically the same, they face different challenges to us, but it's so similar. And it's so like, and even in school, like, my one really good little school friend, she was a little black girl, because no one really wanted to, sadly, play with her, and no one really wanted to play with me, because I was gypsy and she was black. So like, we were the outcasts, so we had each other. So I find this sad that you have this opinion of travellers, because it's really not true. And it's the opposite. Travellers have always, the ones I know, gravitated empathy-wise more to black people, because I can relate to your struggles. I can relate to the place that you're coming from, that you don't get it easy in this life, and you don't always be treated the same as everybody else, and I get that. So I always related more. I definitely didn't give them racism. They get enough of that of other ethnic groups and races and people and cultures. They don't need any more. So yeah, this is completely wrong, this question. It's not true, it's a false statement.
We also saw Janet Davey, MP of Lewisham East, taking a stand in the House of Commons, where she expressed her concerns with the lack of safeguarding and bullying policy being followed from the school, and she demanded that the education department within government highlight and send in some sort of inspectors to look at that school and make sure that young people are safe.
Over the last few nights I have lost sleep, and that is because of hearing about and seeing the horrific incident which took place of a young black child being physically assaulted and abused by 3 young white children. Now, I understand there is a police investigation taking place, and because of parliamentary protocol, we cannot go into too much detail. But this has torn through the heart of so many communities, and communities are in pain and outraged because of what's happening. It is a responsibility of the local government and central government to make sure that this situation is being investigated fully, that cuts across so many departments. And I ask the Leader of the House, will she be speaking to her education colleagues to look into what practices are not and are taking place in that school regarding safeguarding, and also address the professional performance of the school teachers? Will she also agree to look into ensuring that justice has been served by speaking to her Home Office colleagues to make sure that the victims and the families are being protected and are receiving all of the support that they do need? And I will end by this, if it's all right, Madam Deputy Speaker, to say, will she also agree to come back to the House by speaking to her colleagues to make sure a statement is given to update the House on exactly what has happened and what is happening with this case?
So we commend Janet Davey for that. Janet's a long-time friend. I remember running for her old seat in 2019 in a by-election in Lewisham, Whitefoot area, where she stood as councillor for many, many years. Once she then moved on to MP, I then went for the councillor seat. So know Janet Davey very well, and she will speak up for injustices. We have to give her that.
Continue to investigate a serious racially aggravated assault outside a school in Ashford. I want you to know that we've arrested 5 people, 4 on suspicion of attempted racially aggravated GBH. 2 of these people were also arrested on suspicion of child neglect and for encouraging an offence to be committed. The victims continue to receive specialist support from officers, and I can confirm that one has been to hospital and received specialist support from officers, and I can confirm that one has been to hospital and received treatment for injuries sustained during the attack. A 15-year-old girl is still wanted in connection with this assault on suspicion of racially aggravated harassment. She knows she is wanted. We are working hard to find her, and we ask her to come forward. The video of the assault is incredibly distressing. I understand that people may want to share this footage to raise awareness, but I'm requesting the video isn't shared further for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's incredibly upsetting. We're working hard to find her, and we ask her to come forward. The video of the assault is incredibly distressing. I understand that people may want to share this footage to raise awareness, but I'm requesting the video isn't shared further for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's incredibly upsetting to the victims and their family and friends to see such footage. They've been through enough. And secondly, it's critical to any future court case that it is not distributed more widely, as there is a risk it could prejudice a trial or hearing. We've obtained the original video as evidence and are building a case critical to any future court case that it is not distributed more widely, as there is a risk it could prejudice a trial or hearing. We've obtained the original video as evidence and are building a case to put to the Crown Prosecution Service. Finally, I urge anyone with additional footage or images, such as dash cam, CCTV, helmet cam, to get in contact with us via direct message so that we can provide you with a link to upload it and help further build our case. Thank you.
As a parent, not just a police officer, he didn't condone what he saw and what happened. And something else the police officer did say, which was very important, is about sending in other versions of the video that might not have been shared with the public so they could investigate that properly. And this comes back to my original point. Until you have the full picture, sometimes you can make a misjudgment and think that things are something that it's not. So that was a good point to be raised. For me, I look at life and say to myself, if we look at history, there's been many wars, countries divided because of people's different beliefs and other people wanting to let their ego run wild with them. People have lost their lives. There's wars around the world still happening now because of that. And sometimes that starts off on a small scale. So we need to understand as one humans that none of us are different to the next person. None of us are better than the next person. Each of us are promised 72 or 73 years on the planet if we're lucky. So we should try and live that within peace and love. Instead of trying to find a difference and cause a divide with thy neighbor, come together and love each other. Until next week, everyone, keep safe and keep the love going. Love and blessing.
Welcome back to the Gwenton Show. Today we've got an amazing episode for you. Someone that I've had to track down. She's travelled from many, many miles away. We've had to wait for the production team to be in place before we could go. And the way that we got in contact was because I saw a video that she put out online about loving each other and unity. And it done something to me internally inside, and I said, you know what, I have to find her. And I searched Twitter for her, couldn't find her there. So I went on TikTok, and there she was on TikTok with all these videos. And I reached out to her, and we just started talking from there and decided that, you know what, this interview needs to happen. Not every day you meet someone that thinks the same as you. And all we're about is bringing the love together. So I want to welcome my guest, and she's travelled many miles. Yeah. Charlotte, welcome to the Gwenton Show.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So we're going to have this conversation today. Most of it we've had online before.
Yeah.
But it's just about getting the viewers to understand why we're here today and what we're trying to say is because when we look back historically, we all lived as one. And a lot of people, I don't think, understand the history of the travelling community and the love and bond that we had growing up. I just wanted, because a lot of people might not know the history of where the travelling community is coming from and the heritage and what makes the travelling community such an integral part of our society. And it's about understanding and not what you might think you know, but the reality. So over to you.
I think this country, their whole concept of us is based on stigmatism and stereotypes, and very few people actually sit down to actually get to know the people.
Yeah.
They just take what they see in the media and that's it.
Yeah.
But with black people, because they've always had a stigma and they've always had that same, we could always relate to each other, and we always took the time to get to know each other because we knew what stigmas was like. So we'd see past that and get to know each other. And our culture was very entwined.
Yeah.
But I think lately with media, social media and things, a lot of things are changing. We're starting to show ourselves more, and people are getting to know us through having contact through like TikTok and things like that, and it's changing things. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes because people don't understand with media, and then one of the things that I will say is the privacy. And the traveling community are very private. Very private. I grew up with a friend, and his name was Jimmy. Bless his soul, he's passed away now. And I was the only person allowed in his house. Out of all my friends, I was the only person. I felt like I was special to go in his house. His family invited me and his wife and everyone. And when I went in there, the one thing I'll never forget what I took away from that was working hard. The man would leave early in his van, come back late at night, and he was like, look, what you're doing here is stupidness. If you want a job, come and work, but you have to work hard. And I was like, well, Jimmy, thanks for the job, but I don't want to work that hard.
Yeah.
But that was something that stuck with me, that although you will see him working there, it looked like he never done nothing but work. Yeah. But when they were ready to go out, him and his family had all of the newest things. They had a brand new car around the back, but work always came first. Yeah. And his children, they'll play outside, but they wouldn't be getting involved in things that the other little children are getting involved in. When the dad said inside, they weren't I don't want to come in and all of that. And I just looked at that. When you're young, there's certain things that you take for granted. But the respect they had for their dad, and even now that he's passed on, the respect is still there. Like, dad is still the king. Even though he's not there, they still respect him. And that is something that, because I had that experience, which some of my friends didn't have, they just thought, Jimmy's just the man in his van that goes to work. They didn't understand the different level to Jimmy. And I think a lot of people on social media only now that we might see programs about the traveling community getting married and all of that, that people are slowly learning.
I have to stop you there and say that most of every program I've ever watched, like Gypsy Weddings and all them, they're terrible representation.
Yeah.
The media like to put it in, they pick out and dramatise our community. Yeah. Like, if you actually know a traveller, you know how dramatised them programs are. Yeah. Because we're very chill. Do you know what I mean? We're very private, don't talk about money and things like that. Well, that program was all talking about money and things. Yeah. Channel 4 just wanted to make us look what they wanted us to be. Unintelligent, just shoot your mouth out. And that couldn't be any further than the truth. Yeah. I find that program was to keep us down, not to build us up. Yeah, I don't agree with him.
There was only one, I forgot his name now. There was only one guy on there that invited the cameras in his house amongst his community. And that was the only part of that whole program where you actually saw that the love between him, his mom, his grandma, everybody in there was one. And I was like, why isn't the rest of the program like that?
Exactly. We're very family orientated people. Yeah. Family is life for us. Yeah. And there was none of that community spirit in them programs at all. Like you said, even when your daddy's gone, he's your word. Like me, my daddy's gone. But to me, he's still my number one person, and I still remembers everything he teach me, everything he learnt me. Yeah. And my life still is directed by his teachings, even though he's not here anymore. Yeah. We're very, very respectful of our parents. We're very high moral people. Yeah. And that just, it's never portrayed like that. We're never portrayed in that light.
And I think this is why I'm glad that you actually taking a stand and doing your own documentary, because that's something that I want to put out there. And putting out the right narrative where there's no one saying to you, oh, we need a bit more of this, or could you make that bit look a bit more? Yeah. Because this is where it goes wrong, because for people that don't know, as I said, I'm privileged to have been close to Jimmy's family. So when I'm watching these things, I'm like, yeah, Jimmy had money, but you never know he's got money. So when you're looking at these programs and like, wait a minute, everyone from traveling community is a millionaire.
But they're not, far from it. I'm not. I think I have £45 in my bank account.
But this is what you tend to believe, like, whoa, like.
It's dramatized.
Yeah.
It's to get the people in. Yeah. It's to get people to watch. No one wants to see reality. Yeah. It's boring. But what the point of the documentary I'm doing is the team gave me like control of editing and things like that.
Okay.
There's no script. Yeah. There's no dramatizing anything. It's raw, truthful, authentic traveller.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it or don't, it's the truth.
It's the truth, yeah.
I want to break stereotypes. I don't want to, for money, add to them.
And what you just said there is leads me right into my next question. Because even the origin of where it all began, I think a lot of people don't even know. Like, where was the beginning from? Because everyone just thinks, oh yeah, everyone from traveling communities from Ireland and that is it.
No, there's Romani gypsies.
Yeah.
And there's Irish travellers.
Yeah.
I'm half and half. I'm mixed.
Okay.
My daddy is Romani gypsy and my mammy is an Irish traveller.
Okay.
Obviously, when you break it down to the core, they're the same, but they originated from two completely different places. Irish travellers originated from Ireland. They are actually the native people of Ireland. They're there before non-travellers.
Okay.
And then Romani gypsies, my daddy's people, they originated from India, North India, and then they moved to Europe like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and then they just scattered out through Europe. Yeah. So they're all over.
And I saw, funny you saying about the Romania, when I watched something on your page, I had to ask you, what's that called? And the little truck thing.
The wagon.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, I saw that on documentary, and sometimes you feel silly asking some question, but I thought, you know what, we're cool. Let me ask you what that is, because when you're looking at back in the day, the shapes of them, they were like Rolls Royces.
See, you get it. A lot of people look at them and think, oh, it must have been so hard in poverty. They were a luxury.
Yeah.
Other people were intense.
Yeah.
Like, to have a wagon was a luxury thing.
Yeah, I learned that on the documentary. They cost a lot of money and they were sold for a lot of money. Yeah. But looking at them, unless you understand the value, a lot of people just think, oh, it's just a wagon.
That's handmade, handcrafted. Every caravan you see was done by hand, and it's gold painting.
All the way through.
My great-grandfather used to make them.
Okay.
He used to make wagons. And they're intricate. They take months, if not years. Well, back then it'd take years. Like, there was no lights or anything.
Yeah.
Like, it was candles.
Yeah.
And you're handcrafting all that.
With candlelight.
Exactly.
And the thing now, to see one of those now, the respect for them, because it's not every day you would see one. Mm-hmm. So when you do see one, it's like, wait a minute, I want to capture that, because I don't know when I'm going to actually see one again in this country. And that's what people don't understand. It's like, we're going back how many years?
Hundreds.
Yeah, of history here, where people don't understand the legacy of what that means. And I think it's things like that where, because the media I wouldn't say they don't want to show it, but they don't understand the historical.
Do understand. They don't want to show it.
Well, let's just say it as it is then.
So
well,
I'm a blunt person. They do understand.
Well, they would rather show nonsense than actually show the legacy of, wait a minute, you haven't come from poverty. People were living better than other people hundreds of years ago. Because if you're looking and thinking, wait a minute, this is where I've come from, this is where my great-great-grandfather or grandmothers come from, and we were living better than the people that claim that they're kings and queens. This is something that makes sense here. So then it clearly makes sense why people don't want to tell the true story.
No, they don't. Obviously, they say you're smelly, you're unintelligent, you're this, you're that, but look how much intricacy and how much pride and dedication it takes to make a wagon.
Yeah.
That just shows you yourself
that
we always cared about our homes and about ourselves and everything like that. But the media plays a different story, which is, according to them, we run them down their bare feet, chucking rubbish everywhere.
And that is something that viewers out there, I will tell you now. I grew up in Hackney in East London, and we had some friends that lived in their own little area in Hackney. And one thing that we always said, even as children, how come their house is so clean?
Spotless. I mean, Tommy is a clean freak, honestly.
Because we went back home, obviously our family didn't want to hear that, because to them, their house is clean. But we're like, listen, I just gone down to my friend's house down the road and
bleaching the block pavement.
bleach everywhere. It's bleach, clean, white, clean. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, your home has to be spotless.
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Okay. So when we're seeing this nonsense on the media, I'm like, wait a minute, this is what I'm used to. And even I ring my friends from school, I'm like, do you remember the Dundons that used to live down the bottom? Their house was like what we just saw in that. Remember, we went home and told our mum. So these are the things that people need to understand, that the narrative that you see out there
It's not the true narrative.
is not the truth. And the fact that you're such a private community, people are then able to create their own narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah? And then that brings us back, because I don't even want to give it any oxygen. The reason why me and you originally contacted, why we even here, is about a week or 2 weeks ago, there was a video going around, video went viral, of a young girl having a fight or being attacked. We don't know the true story because we don't know when the cameras came on.
Exactly.
And then a few people decided that they were going to take it into their own hands with what version of the video they saw, and then went up to take a stand. They went there, had a word with the teacher and whatever else. The people got arrested. Once I heard that the people got arrested, it was being investigated, I was like, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, fair dues.
Yeah? But then, and this needs to be learning for others, then it then turned into something else, which we both agreed it was disgusting, and we don't tolerate that nonsense at all. Where people then went and started trying to traumatize, I'm going to call it out to what it is, started to cause stress and trauma to other family members and young people that had nothing to do with this.
And they thought that was justifiable, running up and down, terrorising other travellers for a crime that wasn't theirs.
Yeah, and I then started getting phone calls from my friends, which we see each other more than friends. We've gone like 30 years from the traveling community. Like, do you know these guys? And I'm like, look, I know who they are, but they're not my people then. But I will get a word to them, because that needs to be apologized about, because that was crossing the line. All right, the apology came in. It could have been better.
It could have been
It could have been a lot better, because you then repeated things that we're saying
exactly
we don't agree with. And this is something, again, for people. When you've done something wrong, just wipe your mouth and make it right. Don't try and make it right but look cool at the same time, or saying the same things. That means then, are you really sorry or are you not? Just say sorry, and that's it. Let's move on. And what came from that was, again, the reminder of the love and unity between the two communities.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, no way, we're not falling out over that. You know, like, there is no way on earth, after everything we've gone through, we've grown up together, that has to get apologized in 24 hours. You know, like, you stay at home. Because we had friends from the traveling community that was like, listen, sort that now.
Yeah.
Because that's not being tolerated. Like, look, stay at home, we will deal with that. And again, that was your video, again, that allowed people to see that, you know what, we've got too much to lose.
Exactly.
And the world's watching. And there was something under there that I'm going to repeat now. that even my gran, when she watched it, she was like, I remember those.
Your gran even saying it. That's cute.
Listen, my gran's up to date, you know, with these stuff. She's 87 soon, but she's cool.
God bless her.
No blacks, no dogs, and no Irish.
Yeah.
And those were in the windows back in the day. So it's like people then had to remember that before people became educated, these were the two communities that were marginalized and isolated. And living in the houses together, because this is something that people don't even want to talk about, where you had to share a house with the only other people that you could get a house with.
They forget all this. And what they also forget, which I find really sad, we're still on them windows. You go to Appleby and places like that, and it still says no travellers and gypsies in them windows. Our oppression hasn't ended. Yous have come out the window, and thank God yous have.
Yeah.
But we haven't yet.
And I think people forget that.
They forget that. I'm not off that window yet.
And this is why I'm saying now people need to understand that we've all got one life to live.
Exactly.
And I want everyone to live their life in peace. And no matter what you want to do with yourself, it's up to you. Whatever you believe in, you should be allowed to believe in.
Exactly.
But it's about love.
It is.
And I don't think no one's got the right to control no one. We're in 2023 here. All of that nonsense of the past needs to go away.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're actually being the voice, because somebody has to speak out.
Exactly. Somebody have to say the truth.
Because if everyone stays silent, and I understand about being private and everything else, but
you can be private and honest.
Yeah.
I'm still private. But I can still stand up and speak the truth. You know what I mean? No one's asking for my sore code and account number. I'm just talking about my culture.
And I think a lot of the time people don't understand that, and they don't get that we're all one people regardless.
God made us all at the end of the day.
What are we? Humans. That's
Exactly.
it. I'm going to die one day. You're going to die one day. We're all here for a reason. But it's about before that time, we have to leave a legacy. And that's why I think that I'm glad that the two of us could sit here today. And I remember when I was on the way up there, my family's like, oh, you're going to get killed. Don't go out there. I'm like, listen, man, I'm going with Paul. No one can't kill me. I'm good. And the same thing with you, because it's like...
I was the same. I said the same to you.
Yeah.
I said, I'm nervous about going up there with everything that's going on.
You understand? And it's like, we shouldn't have to feel like that.
No, we shouldn't, because we didn't do anything wrong. That was... I'm not going to get into it like you, because it's not worth getting into. Obviously, at the beginning, I only seen one side of the story, and then obviously I seen the whole context. It wasn't a racial attack. It was a stupid argument between that two groups.
Yeah.
A lot was done wrong on both sides of the fence. No one's justifiable. Nobody is right. No one has the right to throw any race cards at each other. But it should have been left between them two groups of people. It didn't have to outbranch the way it did, because there was a lot more that happened off the camera
than on
behind
the
the
camera.
scenes. So I don't think it should have reached all of us. I don't think we should have had to be in fear of being here today for a private argument between two different families, you know what I mean?
And again, why did it have to become a race war?
Exactly.
And this is something that I'm going to say, because me and you spoke about this behind camera. We've got some people in the community that might look like they're helping the community, but they are being paid and manipulated to cause problems. And it don't matter what background or where you come from, you will have people that are being used to cause trouble. And if you follow these people, what happens then? The narrative gets built that the trouble that they're causing is the right thing to do. And what you have to do is stop and look and think, wait a minute, does this make sense? What justifies, because some people move on from trouble to trouble. Yeah. Next week, they might be causing trouble with somebody else, or they don't like that a shop's put something in the shop window, they go and attack the shop. And I think that instead of pushing out hatred and violence and aggression, let's have a conversation.
Exactly. Like what me and you done, we sat down and we talked about it and we had an adult conversation about it. Screaming and shouting like a child never solved nothing.
And
hate never solved nothing.
but then when you look now, we're what, 2 weeks on?
Yeah.
Nobody remembers the whole.
That's all I forgot about.
Yeah, the police are dealing with people been arrested. Other people are now looking for the new place to go and cause problems.
Exactly.
So it's about understanding what our mission is, and we now come on to the next part. Is what is your next steps now?
My next steps, I don't know really. I kind of go with the flow. I'll be honest with you, Quentin. We'll see what comes. My aim and my goal is generally just to be myself.
Yeah.
And by me being me, it will break them stereotypes. Because I know I'm none of them stereotypes. So that's just my goal, really. Just to educate people. And that's the steps.
And when do you think the interview and the documentary will be out?
I don't know yet. I'll have to speak to the production team about that.
Okay. So, as we round up, the message for today, if you could give one message to the viewers out there, what would you say?
Take people as you find them. That'll be my one message. Take people as you find them, and don't jump to hate. There's other ways to do things instead of jumping and hating people.
Yeah. So as you could see there, people, it's all about love. Get to know your neighbor before you judge your neighbor. Understand your history before you jump to conclusions. Don't allow social media to make you make the wrong decisions. Charlotte, again, thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I just want to say shout out to Mum as well, the boss.
Mine or yours?
Yo, Mum.
Shout out to me, mommy.
Yeah. So, and we need more people in the community that, regardless you want to make a move, if Mum's feeling says no, it's no. And a lot of the time we want to go against that, but the protection's there.
Yeah. My mommy have the last say on me no matter how old I am. Like literally.
Yeah. And we give thanks for that because it's kept you safe.
God, it did. Listen, I was always brought up like this. Never ever turn down a clever person's advice. My mommy is a very intelligent woman and my daddy was equally as intelligent of her. Why am I not going to listen to them when all they're going to tell me is sense?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So I listen to her.
Yes. So we big up Mum again. And
She'll kill me for mentioning it.
And thank you everyone for watching. And we see you on the other side. This is the Gwenton Show signing out.
See you later.
My channel is the truth. Like, subscribe, and share.